got a question here from Rob. So in some of the previous videos, Julian mentioned Ripe House focus on Tasmania and areas like Launceston. What makes it an opportunity, as the population growth is quite little compared to some other states? So this is a good one. Thanks for flicking that through, Rob. I think it's one thing to just, I guess, understand our overall philosophy as a business. Like, we really try and treat property investing like a science, right? So we've got the periodic table here for us. We look at employment, strong, diverse employment sectors. We look at the projects happening through there. Are they creating lifestyle factors? And does that, is there population growth? And the important thing is here, what does the supply look like? Because you can have crazy amounts of population growth, but the new supply is a really big one. If we have just as much supply or more supply coming through than we have population growth, we actually have more supply than demand, right? So a good example of that, over the last 20 years, the number 2 states in terms of population growth are comfortably Melbourne and Sydney over the last 20 years. It's not even remotely close. It's about 7.8 and 7.9% respectively. I think Brisbane might be third in there. We can see over the last 20 years, though, they're both not even in the top 3 for capital growth. Hobart's sitting up there, Adelaide sitting second, and Brisbane sitting third. And if we look at some other stats, so going further back, so population growth over the last 50 years, and this is obviously using census data, it's not a 2025 one yet. Darwin's actually got the highest population growth, followed by Canberra, then by Perth, Brisbane, Melbourne, Sydney, and we've got Hobart and Adelaide right down the bottom. So Hobart and Adelaide down the bottom. We've got a pretty clear indication there in terms of where they sit. When we go actually to house price growth over that period of time, Darwin, which has had the best population growth by far over that period of time, is sitting dead last. So the population growth is just one little metric, but it's about how much population growth there is versus supply coming through. So when we look at places like Tasmania as a whole, they do have a population growth issue. They're only getting one kind of good year, it'd be 2% population growth, but there is really minimal development happening in those locations. So if you compare that to a Melbourne and Sydney, firstly, I don't know if many people in the chat today have been down to Hobart. In the Hobart CBD, the tallest building is about 5 or 6 stories high. Other than the Rest Hotel down by the water down there, there's not really massive skyscrapers or massive apartment complexes sitting in there like you get in your Melbourne and your Sydney CBDs or your Brisbane CBDs, right? So that's number one. And there's not developments like house and land package areas where there's literally hundreds and hundreds being built as the eye can see. So, it's really, I guess, stable development that goes through and sustainable development going through, right? Because it's still at an issue where their rents are quite healthy in Tassie as a whole, around that kind of 4 to 5% kind of as an average. Some parts are a little bit lower than that, but it shows you tight market on either side of the fence in terms of house price growth or rentals. The other things to just take care of, so I'll just use Launceston as an example here. So this is Launceston, approvals of builds coming through. So as a whole, there's barely any builds coming through. There's going to be some exceptions in here, punch bowl, and again, we're talking about a tiny little segment, so that data can be skewed quite a bit. And even the reds here, they're not really high percentages, 6.68 or at 4.8. We come out to somewhere like Melbourne, and Melbourne CBD, we're at 11.9. Then we're going out to like places like Melbourne's West, and I'm pretty familiar with places like Tarneit and Truganina. They're actually very well populated, dense areas. We've got 15, 10, 4.8, 11.8, 6. This would be an anomaly because there's basically no one living here, so the developments there are going to be a crazy number, even on the outskirts of Melton. So there's crazy amounts of supply, more than what the population's coming through, right? So it is population growth is one arm to it, but there's also the supply element coming through to it as well. So just kind of basic economics there. So for us, really strong, the Tassie market, I think, as I mentioned at the start of the session today, trends are showing. The recovery is probably slowly starting in Hobart as well. So we've been in Launceston for a little bit now, but even now Hobart, which I have called before, 6 to 12 months away, starting to get ready for that location as well. But only time will tell if we start opening the door to purchasing there as well. But thanks for flicking that question through.